Hello and good evening, everyone. I'm Kelly Allen Gray, and I am the Executive Director of AIDS Outreach Center, AOC. And with me this evening are some amazing ladies and gentle person who decided that they trusted me enough to share their journey with me. African American women and men disproportionately are affected by HIV and AIDS and any other major disease. And so, as I have spent 5 weeks as the executive director of AOC, what I realize is missing is the voices of African American women and gentle people in this conversation, and how we remove the stigma in our communities as we talk about HIV, as we talk about our sexuality, as we talk about our families, our family members who are living with HIV or have succumbed to AIDS. And so this evening, these remarkable people are spending some time with us to just share their stories. Nothing gory, nothing detailed. It's just a group of people coming together to share. So who I have with me today is Pam, Miles, Sherian, Marshanae, and the mother of the bunch, Miss Reba. So thank you all for being with us. And we're just gonna open it up and let each one introduce themselves, talk just a little bit about you and who you are. In the background is Tracy over there. She's made sure that we've had food and drink and all of those great things. So shout out to Tracy and my son, Rylan, who just always has to show up and help. So thank them. And then, ladies and gentle person, let me let you know, this is really a conversation. So if somebody says something that sparks a question, it's just a conversation. Ask the question. Miles is going to be the person who keeps us right, who corrects us in a gentle way. To tell us, to make sure that we're using the right terminology, because what we don't want to do is offend anyone. That's exactly what I don't want to do. And Miles has been very helpful these last couple of days in talking as I have asked questions and making sure that I'm doing it right and I'm saying it right and I am in the correct space. So thank you so much. So we're going to open it up with you, Miss Pam.
I knew that was coming.
Okay.
My name is Pam Jason. I guess we can use that, or Pam, but I'm 57. I am married. I have 2 children, a stepson and my daughter, and a grandbaby. So I guess when I first discovered that I was HIV positive, I was in the process of meeting my current husband, which was kind of ironic because we kind of discovered it together. And this is my first marriage ever. And it just so happened to be that something that we went through this together. You know what I mean? I have suspects, which is kind of difficult because I don't know where I got it from. It could have been a hospital setting. It could have been my tattoo setting. It could have been somebody I was partnered with. So that got me for a while because I didn't know where I got it from, and I still don't know, but I had to get past that and get on with my life. And that was the thing because, in this, like I said, in discovering the thing about discovering this was I discovered it with my now husband, which makes it so much more because he stood by my side through it all, through all the anguish that I felt, through all the in my mind, because I didn't conceive on how I could have, I wasn't out there, but I was dating, and so I should have, I didn't protect myself. So, in saying that, I am blessed because my husband has been, like I said, by my side ever since, and I don't have a problem because I take my meds, so I'm good in that area. The only thing I worry about is my diabetes, which is my major thing. So, and I'm I'm glad I'm doing this because I've been wanting to tell my story and I don't know how. So I'm learning how to be able to I accept it inner soul and I tell few people at a time. So I'm learning how to be open with it so that I can share it. So if anybody else is going through what I'm going through, maybe I can help them a little bit, knowing that you can have a amazing life, you know what I mean? And that's not a worry for me because I'm living my life and I don't know, we have to ask questions.
We'll come back to you. Come back to you. But here's what I do want everyone to know. Everyone sitting in this room is not HIV positive. Everyone here is not. Everyone here, however, has an affiliation to AOC in some type of way. Mm-hmm. And that's what's really important to me.
Okay.
So thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Because you didn't have to. And I appreciate that you did. So, Miles, what you have?
My name is Milestone Scott. I am 28, born and raised in Fort Worth. I guess my association with the AOC started with trying to find a place where I could get like free STI testing and having like a reliable place that they would like actually take the time to educate me and like give me the resources I needed to continue to live how I wanted to live my life. I've had a few friends that have like, I think gone to the AOC as well, but going into COVID is when I started to like medically transition. So I was on the wait list with the Trans Wellness Clinic. So that's just, I guess, deepened my appreciation for the center just because I am a person that, not that I know anything about like what's right or anything like that. As I learn things that take away stigma, that take away shame, that take away guilt around these things that are like very human, it's not thought of the same way that it used to be in a different generation. So just getting people to understand and I really like that you said it's like this. I mean, I take my medication and just like I do with diabetes, I do with this because we're human and there's just things that we deal with and it shouldn't have any more shame, whether you have like high blood pressure, whether you have asthma, like none of these things, even though they're hard to like, get medical assistance for these things, but like, it's still something that like you prioritize your health, you prioritize like your wellness. And I just appreciate the AOC for that because it has strengthened my ability to like help other people find their way where it's like, well, if you didn't know that you can get Truvada from, AOC, they have resources for that. If you didn't know that, like, yeah, you can get all of these tests for free, free, like free 99.9. Like,
got 99 problems, but medicine ain't one.
And everyone is really cool. Like, no one is making you feel uncomfortable or being like, oh, here you go again, and it's like this. Did nobody ask you for that? Like, there's none of that, and it's just nice to have a place like that in Fort Worth, for sure.
So, as a side. Sharian works at AOC. She does our insurance. Yeah. And so it's really cool when I was introducing Sharian to Pam and Pam said, Sharian insurance, Sharian? It's like, yeah, so to be able to put a face and a name together. Yeah. And then Marcianae works at AOC, and I'm gonna tell this story, but I gotta tell my Marcianae story real quick. So it wasn't even my very first day. It was, I had gotten hired. And so me going to work at AOC was the worst kept embargoed secret ever. They said I couldn't say anything. Remember, I couldn't say anything to anybody, but they told everybody, right, that I was going to work at AOC. So I'm going around. So they take me into this room. It was these four walls and these three people sitting in this room. And Marcianae was one of the people sitting in the room. And so Marcianae is a peer advocate. And but they were just so warm, so inviting, so like, oh, we're happy to meet you, and just talking. And so that's how I got to Marcianae. So my very first day, Marcianae was the person that I saw who smiled at me, and I thought, oh God, this is gonna be okay. Somebody here is smiling. Everybody else look like they're going, like they're going out. They're gonna be shot at the altar. You know, like
Wow.
like she's here. I'm not sure what that means, but the organization has been through so much the last few years. So go ahead, Miss Sharon, because Sharon was one of those people, y'all.
That did what? No, I wasn't.
That was like I was pulling her to come and talk to me and do all of those things. She's like, oh my gosh, she wants to talk to me. I don't know what she wants to talk about.
I did. Okay, so my name is Sharon Parks. I'm 49 years old. I'm from Fort Worth. I've been here all my life, and I have a beautiful 21-year-old daughter. I was diagnosed back in 2008. I had been divorced maybe a year. It was like the worst feeling I'd ever felt when the doctor, called me and told me about my status. So I was fearful of speaking out a lot of times from the stigma. For my daughter not knowing at an early age, I felt like I did a great accomplishment with her because she was very accepting to it. And when I was first diagnosed, I didn't even want to live.
Mm.
I didn't know how to fathom what had gone on, even though as an adult you put yourselves in certain positions, so you have to be accountable for your own actions just as well as what happened, because it was just a disaster as the way it happened, So, but I'm here to say that it was a long 5 years of trying to deal with it. But I have had a great support system and still do.
Yeah.
So that was the best thing. And you can overcome it. You can. People are living with it. Long lives might I add. Many, many years. You just have to. My favorite saying, this my grandmother would tell me to pray.
Mm.
Pray and go. So you just have to get up and do what you have to do.
Let go, let God.
Let go, let God.
Yes.
That's the best way to do it. I mean, that's how I did it. I can commend on that. That's how I did it. It was prayer, and like I said, the best thing is having a good support system. So you have to, the people that you tell, you first going out, you need that support from them, and like I said, I got that, so I was able to get through it too. And I understand that you have to have that too, because it's when you find out it's like overwhelming, but then you woosah and you walk into life. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It took a long time
to really absorb what I actually put myself through, in addition to letting the gentleman that I was affiliated with at the time. So, but
yeah, I'm glad you're here.
Yeah.
Because last week when I asked you, she said, "Let me think about it. Let me ponder. If that's something that I want to do." And so I know this is a big step. And so I appreciate you sharing.
thank you.
Your story. That's what you have, Ms. Marcia.
Hi everyone, my name is Marcia. I am originally from Chicago. I've been in Fort Worth, Texas for about 2.5 months now, and I've been at AOC for about 2 months now. And okay, I'm a Black trans woman as well, and so I knew nothing about coming here. I moved here because I have a family member here. So of me coming here, I needed to find a place. I'm HIV positive as well, so I needed to find a place to go. So I just looked AHF on the internet, and I just went. And then they took me over to ALC, and so that's how I got there. And I was just going for an appointment, and someone who works there, she was telling me about a position because she had liked my spirit. And I'm like, girl, I'm not looking for no job right now. I'm just getting here. I'm not trying to do anything. I'm trying to figure out what I'm doing here. So after that, days went by and I had to go back for a follow-up. And so this person again, like, girl, I'm not looking for a job. So then another person comes downstairs, the lead peer, and he gets to talking to me. And he puts me in a scenario as though, he was a client and everything. And he liked how I responded. And he was so excited. And I'm just like, okay, what did I just get myself into? I'm not ready for this. And that's how I got there at AOC. And I'm so happy to be there. I'm still learning things. I found out I was positive back when I was about 19 years old, 19, 20 years old. So I was very young. And I was going to the doctor just for a regular checkup. And they asked me if I wanted to take a random HIV test. I'm like, sure, no problem. So, I take the test and everything. And they start calling people and everything. And so after everyone left, I'm like, I'm the last person. And it was very traumatizing at that point, just finding out that you're HIV positive. I was lost, confused, embarrassed, ashamed. Even though I knew I was with one person, the world is crazy, and the stereotypes and the stigma around being Black, being trans, and being HIV positive was a lot to take in and absorb. And I stayed to myself for a very, very, very long time. Me being 36 now, I recently just told my family. They were always supportive of me, even as a kid, growing up. I've just had a good life, so I'm just happy to be here still. And even though society says what they says about trans women, we are all not the same. We are all different. I've never escorted. I never had to do anything strange for a piece of change. Right. I've always had a job. So that stigma about trans women is a lie. Because I'm a living witness. Like, I'm here. I've always had a job. I'm positive.
Even when you didn't want one.
Even when I didn't want that. Yeah, that part. But I'm so happy. And I was so happy when you came into our office. I was still new at that point. I think 2 weeks I was new. And we enjoyed your spirit. I'm speaking for my other, 2 colleagues as well. We enjoyed your spirit. And we clicked automatically that first day when we all met. So I believe that we were meant to be there, and I'm just here to help and, try to guide people the right way. Because it's hard. I'm still learning things.
So what about you, Miss Reba?
I'm just along for the ride. No.
So Miss Reba is Miles's grandmother and best friend.
Girl.
And best friend. Because I can't say what I really want to say. No. So all I have is best friend.
We're all right. Okay. So yes, that is my grandchild. And not really a Fort Worth native, but I've been here for so long that a lot of people think that I grew up in one of those neighborhoods, whether it was Riverside or South Side or some side, but I'm not.
We'll take you to the river, Miss Reba.
But I like Fort Worth a lot. I'm older than all of these people in this room, and could be a lot of grandmothers and mothers, but I'll just stick with what I've got. That's good. Actually, when I think about it, I was part of AOC way back in the beginning, when a gentleman named Thomas Bruner was the executive director. That was a long time ago. And just had cursory kind of interaction with the organization, more of as a volunteer for their efforts at fundraising and various other activities like that. I did have a family member that succumbed to HIV and had a difficult time with that knowledge. a lot of denial and a lot of inability to accept what was going on with them. And it was kind of a hard situation to work in with that. And I helped that person out a lot with getting the resources necessary for a healthier lifestyle than they were living at the time. But because of their denial, that did not work out for my family member or myself, because the denial kept them from accepting the resources and accepting the knowledge and taking my meds, and being cognizant of the fact that doing certain things were better than doing these other things over here. And eventually my family member passed away. Not in a way that I would have wanted, but nevertheless. So I know that the organization provides a lot of resources, whatever it is, medical, food, housing, companionship of a sort if you want, because there are other people like yourself, whatever your situation is, going through that. If you are open to receiving that input and just camaraderie, I'll use that word, you can eclipse a lot of different challenges and barriers that you would stumble over not having that sort of a resource like AOC.
So you've been on this journey with the organization for a while.
Mm-hmm.
So knowing how it started, in 1986,
Mm-hmm.
and it's 2021, things have changed, but so many things have stayed the same. What do you think, as an organization, we should be doing in the African American community, regardless of who it is that is on this walk?
Mm-hmm.
What should that look like?
Well, from what I know is going on today, I think that you are on that journey that was first envisioned those many years ago. And that is the Resource Center. But it's about education as well. Not only of what it is that you're going through from the perspective of what we've seen come through, that gives a lot of information for other people. You can prepare better for what comes through the door, because these people have come through the door and all the other ones before them. How do we go about doing that education? Is it reading materials, or is it conversations like this one, allowing each person to share their story and say how they got from A to B to Z? Well, Z is still probably a ways off, but the incremental steps that have been taken along the way to get to where you are. Knowing that people are accepted for who they are and where they are in life gives people, especially young people who are still struggling with coming out to family for whatever the reason is, and knowing that they will be accepted, that mother will still love me, dad will still put his arm around me and say, brothers and sisters, other extended family members will not turn away from you because they have not gotten beyond the stigma, and you can't help that.
Right.
You can't help that. You can only, and it's not just, and I use the word victim, and it's not victim, but the person going through the journey at the time has to, it's not just their education, but it's the extended family and friends that have to be educated as well. Now, that's not totally AOC's responsibility, but AOC can be there to be that interceptor, if you will, to say, well, hey, come on in. Why don't you come to a whatever the group thing is and see what things are like, you know? Okay, somebody else's turn.
Yeah. Yeah, go
I
ahead.
do want to say, because I know what she means, but I have a hard time with my brother. My brother, I don't know if he's a germophobic or just, that's just who he is.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? He's like, So when I first told him, he would not want to embrace me
Mhm.
because I guess he felt like if I touched him,
It was
and
gonna
that
rub
was very hurtful, but I was okay with it,
Yeah.
Because I know who he is. But I think that what she was saying on the educational part as a whole, we need to put more out there because I don't think people know that you can't get it from a hug.
Mhm.
You can't get it from even a kiss. There's ways of getting this that I don't think people realize. And I think they just stuck on the 3 letters and not underlining what it really actually is. So I think so he's getting a little bit better, but I think he's probably, because he likes to read sources and read over the years. I just kind of let him alone. I didn't, just love him through it. You know what I mean? Because, you have to identify who they are in the first place. And I just loved him through it. But there are other people who are like that, who really don't know what it actually is, and that this is not a way to get it. You can still love and support the person through it,
Mhm.
but it needs to be educated, and people need to be educated, and they're not going to go out there and educate themselves.
Right.
It has to be something that's put out there that maybe make them open their eyes to see, or make them open their eyes to say, okay, this is what this really is. It's not what I thought it was.
Social media.
Yeah.
Everything is so social. Like you said, things we need to figure out a different way of. Well, we know they're not reading the education,
Right.
Mhm.
so we have to put it out there for them to actually see. And I think that this is a great thing to do for people to understand our different situations and things that we went through throughout our lives, just dealing with HIV. That's the way that we have to go. We just have to keep putting it out there, in order for society to really get it, because they're not getting it through the writings anymore, and everything is so social now.
So, Miss Reba, you have been on this journey with AOC for a long time. And AOC was founded in 1986. And so here it is, it's 2021. And you've had the opportunity to ride that roller coaster wave with us. And so just thinking of that time, then to now, what do you think AOC has done well, could do better? And what do you see our role as being in this conversation in the community, and more importantly, in the African American community?
Okay, so yes, I was there when all of this began to come together, and I'm not saying that I've been integrally a part of the organization all the years, but to see from the beginning where, I think it was somewhere in the mid-South side that the first place was not at all what you have for today. But situations like this one where we're sitting and having conversations where it's not just the people that are affected, but it has to do with everyone on the spectrum, the family, everyone that's involved in the person's life, whomever that individual is. Those people need to feel that they can come and get information and education as well. We were talking about how do we do it, and the thought that I had was like, TikTok seems to be the thing. And it's almost no longer this kind of a video situation that we're in here now. It's something that you get out there and do, and everybody can replay it 9,000 times and do it too. But what is the education that you get out of that? That's where you need to pull in people who have that capability. Can they do TikTok kinds of videos? Because that would grab someone's attention, as opposed to 30 minutes of people sitting around trying to pour their hearts out.
Right. So Pam, you said you have to love people where they are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit about loving people where they are.
Well, just like I said, like my brother, you still have to walk away in front of a person, and then at the end, I think that comes along with the educational part. You still walk your way in front of that person, and that person sees you and sees how you're getting along, how you're doing, how you're sustaining. You don't look like a statistic. I guess I don't know what a statistic looks like, but he sees that they say you're sustaining and doing things. They're gonna want to come back to you, and that's gonna change them because they see that you're command of yourself. You know what I mean? You're not letting it beat you. You're beating it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where, and then like I said, I love the fact we have to educate a lot more over the spectrum, because out there, people they still don't know. And I think they don't know because they don't want to know. You know what I mean? So we still have to, like you said, however the medium is, I think this is a good element. We have to get back to the basics. And there's a lot of, social media is social media, but sometimes people will sit there and look. People are doing Zooms and having conversation on Zoom. So I think we're getting back to this mainstream because quick is so fast. We need the conversation. Mm-hmm. We need to get this out there because you still have to walk away. He doesn't, like I said, my brother doesn't see me getting sickly. He doesn't see me. He sees me doing, and so he's changing. And maybe, in the background of it, by him seeing me who I am, and I'm getting, I'm going strong. He's looking it up. He's reading behind, trying to figure out what's going on with my sister. So if we can make that reaction happen, we're gonna have a better educated planet. And and just like I said before, it'll be just like trying to control the diabetes and get, it's a norm, but we have to be able to educate people who don't take their meds to make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to do and get that in the conversation too, because there are a lot of people. I had a friend at the airport, and God will put you in place to, and I say God because that's who I believe and that's who I serve. So He will put you in places to be where you need to be for the people you need to be there for. So I met a guy, he HIV positive. We ended up talking, and he wasn't taking his meds. I got him to take his meds. He didn't have anybody to talk to. We need to make sure that the AOC resources that people know about it, so they will be able to come and get the education that they need in order to understand that I need to take care of myself, because I'm not going to be gone in one day. I could last a lifetime. Mm-hmm. And I had to make him know that once you do that, because like I said, I'm good. They don't worry about that within myself, because I take my meds every day and I'm conscious of that. If there's, it's expensive, but it doesn't, but I have resources that help me with that. Let somebody know that there are resources that will pay for your medication. Texas will pay for your medication if you're having a problem getting it. But people who don't do it don't know the resources. And that's, get it on Facebook, get it on TikTok, get it in Zoom, get it in places where that we're having just walk in front of people and let them know that we're strong. Even though you may think that this is a weakness, it's not a weakness. It was meant to give, sometimes we get things for our strength to be able to help other people. Mm-hmm. And so I'll bear my cross, if I am able to help other people. So that's I don't know what to say.
So let me you said a couple of things, and because Marcianae talked about social media, and you all as the peers last week did a Facebook Live talking about HIV and just education and the whole conversation around HIV and being tested and being in care and not being in care and all of those things that everyone has just said here. So my question is, the information is there. We know people are not going to read. And now we are such an in-your-face kind of group of people that these kinds of conversations work. Facebook Live works. We've been having testing events, and it has been very amazing to me the number of people. So like today we were at Le Grand Plaza. The number of people who pulled up, wanted to know what we were doing, and then said, "Oh no, I don't want to do that." Okay, well, we're not gonna pull you out your car to do it, but wouldn't you feel better?
Yeah.
Wouldn't you just feel better if you knew your status? Whatever it is, whatever it may be. And so I've been having this conversation with the ministers, and it has been very interesting. Because I've had some ministers who's like, yes, I want my church to be a part of that conversation. How do we partner with you? But then I've had some ministers who've just been silent. Like, yeah, that's a good thing. And then the conversation moves on to the next thing. So what role do you see the church playing? Or should the church play a role in it? Because I'm asking this, especially as women. Because there are so many African American women who have contracted HIV because their partner was on the down low. But these are also the ladies that sing in the choir, they usher, they're the hospitality committee, they cook the food, they do First Sunday. I mean, but the church doesn't want to have that conversation. I don't know. I'm gonna ask you, Mom.
You look like you want to say something.
You did, and you can choose any part of that.
Yeah. As someone who's not religious but was brought up in the church, for me, as a person that's like trying to like take personal responsibility for their health and wellness, recognizing how shame plays a role in my life and how different institutions have aided in making me feel shameful about any and everything. How fear plays a part in how I make my decisions on how I go about anything. If we look at how the Black community treats health and wellness, period, like how often are people getting their prostate checked? When do you start getting your mammograms? When was the first time you got your pelvic exam? I know I wasn't even allowed to get a pelvic exam until I was starting to have sex. I was a person who wanted to know my baseline. I've never done anything. Can I get a report? And then no, not until you have sex. Can I have my first pelvic exam? Makes no sense. But it's like looking at the institution, I think at a bigger perspective would be a different thing. So it's like, well, yeah, there are a lot of people that turn to the church, but then recognizing it's like, how does the church deal with dispelling shame in today's sermon? How is the church dealing with dispelling fear out of who you decide to like worship, who you decide to have faith in? Because that in turn will go into, well, I'm afraid to say this, or well, I don't understand what you're doing, and that's of the and it's like, it's not of the devil. Just go see a doctor. Just get on Prozac. You know what I mean?
I love that.
There are things like, if we're gonna say like, well, God created it. Okay, well, He created the people that did the work to create these medications so that you can be okay.
Right.
He created the vaccine so you ain't got to get measles no more. So what are we doing? You ain't got polio. Why? So it's just these things of like, well, yeah, like how are we still dealing with shame in general? Like how do we deal with our health in general? And then looking at now how can we like specifically deal with this thing that like is notoriously associated with like sex workers, Marshanae said, like specifically like Black trans women, like just this idea of like, well, you have to be this type of person and addict or dirt, like all these things. And it's like, I think a lot of people are finding benefit in having like people talk about their experiences because it's like kind of breaking down this like, oh, well, it could be any, but like you can get allergies at any point in your life. You know what I mean? Like,
we need more people to come out and talk about their personal experiences, especially our Black families. Most Black families are worried about what others think. So if someone in your family finds out that you have someone that's HIV positive, they don't want anyone to know because they're still worried about what society thinks, and it's not.
In this house stays in this house.
Yeah, right. And I wish more Black families would be more into leaving the whole, oh well, let's hush it up and just not say anything, and we can probably get this thing under control.
The reverse of transparency.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're transparent about everything else.
No, we're not.
Why can't we be transparent about HIV?
No, we're not. No, we're not.
But
You know, because Uncle Ray was over there touching them kids, and we didn't want
That part.
Right?
That part.
I mean, you just didn't put the kids near Uncle Ray. You just, you know, nobody knew why you didn't touch them, you know, why you didn't go. You just moved the kids out of the way. And so
that was undercover part.
Yeah.
And that's the thing I think that I have come to realize here, just, and I'm being perfectly honest here, within the last, I think, let me just put it to COVID. I think that COVID has opened a door for me personally that I wasn't trying to keep closed. I didn't actively walk away from that door. But when other people began talking about different things and how different like Uncle Ray or whatever, and you think back, you think back in your mind, Uncle Ray's that you knew coming through. We don't talk enough about the right things. We talk about, girl, did you see that dress she had on? You see them shoes. What is that she had on her head? You know, all kinds of things that don't relate to being a whole individual, being accepting of the people in your life, family members, and just the neighbors down the street. All of the stuff that's happening today was happening when I was a little girl. And before I was even of this earth. But it was pushed to the side and under the table, and it wasn't talked about because we didn't want somebody else to know. Well, hell, they had the same crap going on in their families, and they were hiding too, you know? So we hide the wrong things. You know, we don't talk enough about who we are and what life is all about with us, because what you experience in life every day, I experience in life every day as well. Maybe a little bit differently than you do, but not so much so that I can say, girl, don't want to be bothered with that. You know, because it's not like that. It's there. All of us have some of whatever everybody is experiencing, whether it's the nutty auntie or the sister that is half, you know, off her rocker, or whatever it is. We all have something in a closet that's going to get out one way or the other.
That's true.
You know, as far as getting it out, you know, use the churches that want to be used.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Use the opportunities, because sometimes, just like this, I think this is an opportunity that might break a lot of walls down because it's something that has not been done. So if a church says yes, have some kind of health fair, and then, you don't have to say this is because this, and this. Call it open eyes or something, and then, say, well, Pastor, we're going to get everybody up in here. We're going to do the open eyes session and then, educate. If we can start slowly and educate, I mean, we might have to mask it because sometimes, in order for people to sit and listen and maybe realize what they don't know what they think they know.
Right.
We have to open their eyes in order to help them understand. So now they have knowledge. Where there's knowledge is power. Bible says lack of knowledge is deadly. So we need to open the eyes of the blind. And if we can do that little by little, whatever, like I said, that's why I said Zoom, whatever media we can stick this conversation in or help educate the masses, or empower them to be able to be better educated on whatever level they need to be educated on. That's the vehicle we need to do. Whether it be, okay, this church wants to have a seminar, boom, we have the seminar, we figure out a name for it. There's one church down or one facility, one group of people, whether it be church or whatever, we can go into even high school because they are not being educated properly.
Oh, that's very true.
You know what I'm saying? So and sometimes we got to make that mandatory. Say, hey.
So, you know what? So let me tell you, you're saying that. So a few years ago, I used to be the youth director at my church. And we did for Vacation Bible School, we did a thing with our pastor that said everything that you ever wanted to know, but your parents would never tell you.
I like that.
And so it was, so our pastor was like, oh yeah, we're going to do it. And so we had all of these people lined up Planned Parenthood. I mean, we just had like this line up of people to talk to the parents, to the teenagers, the girls, the boys, bring them together. And then the little kids, they too little, right? They're gonna quilt. What we discovered though, so at first we had so many of the preachers, so that was the first time we ever had like church packed for Vacation Bible School. Because, normally people will send their kids and then that's it. Well, so the church was just packed for Vacation Bible School. And so whatever the kids, whatever the teenagers learned, it's what the parents learned. What we realized was that the parents didn't know half of the stuff that they really, truly needed to know as just adults.
Right.
Just, I'll be the first one to say, and I say this jokingly, but it was the truth. My mama said you kiss, you get pregnant. So when I kissed Jamie Lane, I kept waiting to get pregnant, right?
Right.
And I was like, well, it ain't happened. It ain't happened. But I also realized my mom was born in 1929. They didn't talk about sex at any point in her life. And so the best that she could tell me was, you kiss, you get pregnant, because she just didn't want to be bothered with the conversation. But it's a whole slew of folks who believe at 60 years old, if you kiss, you get pregnant, and then you've had kids. And you haven't shared any of that information, the right information with the kids. And so now the kids are out there learning about life from another set of kids who don't have it. And then so it is literally perpetuating a whole generation of nothingness, of misinformation. And so we find ourselves in places just like this, where we're having to have conversations and we're hoping that somebody is listening and paying attention and that the message is getting out. And then, Ms. Reba, you said something else that I thought about as I have had conversations with Miles, with Marshanae, with Sherian. So much of what we do is relationship. And so at AOC, it's hard to bring young people in when the person who might case manage you who might navigate you is a white woman
Mm-hmm.
who her experience is not your experience. There's no relatability there. I cannot effectively help you when I don't get where you're coming from.
Right.
And for us as African Americans, most of everything that we do is about a relationship. Can you connect with me?
Mm-hmm.
The moment that we meet each other, can we connect? I didn't connect with Sharian right away, but after she spent 5 minutes sitting in my office realizing I was not going to kill her, and I was just trying to have a
fire her.
Yeah, I was just trying to have a conversation. She was like, "Girl, I'm coming to your house." She been coming to my house. I'm gonna come knock on your door. Come knock on the door. I mean, you know. So, but that's who we are. That's who we are as people. So we have so many people who are not in care because they started out in care and then realized we just don't have a connection.
Yeah.
And what I'm saying is going over your head, and what you're saying is not even making it to my ear. You know, and so we have a lot of people who are suffering that way as well. So I don't know. It's not the topic that we can figure out tonight, but I do. Oh, okay. I'm jumping all around y'all because now I got excited, right? So, what's the crazy rapper who was on stage a couple of weeks ago?
The baby.
The baby. The fool. Who did the fool? Because he stood on stage and said, if you have HIV and you dying in 2 weeks, don't raise your lighter. Don't turn your phone on. So we have people like that out in the community, spreading all kinds of craziness and falsehoods. And then that helps to perpetuate, I'm going to be silent. I'm not going to get tested. The stigma. And now he's on this whole tour of trying to make up. Well, you can't undo those words. And words have power. And you gave those words to a concert full of people who many of them were Facebook Living you. And then it went viral on the news.
And the person who was vouching for him was, after he was saying it, he was saying, yeah, he was just agreeing with him. So that made it even worse.
Who was the person that was
the baby? But whoever was in the background, repeating.
The hype man. Because we always have to have a hype man.
He was agreeing to it.
So just think about, as we, those things are very real too, as we are part of this, conversation and this journey, that you just have people who will just say stuff, and it creates other issues, and it perpetuates that stigma, and
a climate has been created that allows us to say anything that we want to.
Yeah, that's true. That's it.
So with that climate being created, and the creator of that climate not getting any negativity for saying what we say and doing what we do, well, I can do it too.
Yeah.
I can say this
I don't
and
know.
this.
My mama used to say, just because you can don't mean that you should.
But we know that they did. So he felt that he had that ability to say what he wanted to say. And even after being taken down for it, he said, well, I'm not going to repeat what he said.
But yeah, we're not going to be stupidity. Miss Sharian, you quiet. What you got? What you said? You just smile.
What question you got?
I don't have a question. I just want to hear what you have to say. Because you have lots of stuff to say. You always do. So let's do.
But I just want to piggyback off of Pam. I think she's right. Like, I'm good with the social media thing of trying to, cut the stigma or, get back out there, community or help or whatever. But I think these conversations, to me, is how I'm looking at it. Like, I don't know where to start when I say out speaking,
Mm-hmm.
you know, but just, I don't know, just get out there and just make yourself known. Just kind of start telling your stories to just different people.
People
You
have
know?
to stop being afraid.
Right.
A lot of African Americans are afraid, and we have to get out of that way of being afraid. And I believe that if more people come out, more people will feel comfortable to come out even more, you know, because they actually see people who are out here living the life and we're surviving, you know.
I'm gonna tell you, I was afraid.
You're afraid?
I was afraid, but I said I'm gonna make a stand, and that's why I'm here tonight. Because, like I said, I tell people here, people there, and just like all the fear that part of his fear is real. It's real, but it's false. Fear means false evidence appearing real, because whatever it is that I was allowed to have, I have it. If I can help somebody else, I'm going to stand up and do it. So I have to get out of that fear zone, and whatever it is that I'm supposed to do, like I said, I'm a believer in destiny, and the people that we meet, and people that we go through, and people that we are affiliated with, there's a path that we go on.
Right.
So I'm here for a reason. Whoever I am, whoever's listening, if they need to hear that, yes, I was never married before in my life, and the person I'm married to, he's not HIV positive or nothing. He's nothing. We got married. He loves me. He loved me through it. So you can be loved through this situation. It doesn't. This whatever this is, it's just like a diabetes or whatever. It's not a life altering thing. It's what you make it to be. So if you get out of the fear, get out of the zone. I'm telling my story, and I've never done that before, but here I am, and I'm strong. I help my parents every day. That's my main struggle with that. Is there a pill for that? Because that's the only thing I have a problem with.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy. I love it.
But I help my parents every day, but I live my life. And I'm happy behind it, regardless. Like I said, I do what I'm supposed to do medically, just like I do what I do for hypertension, with all those things. But the only thing is we have to educate other people, because there are people out there who don't realize there's life behind those 3 letters. There's life behind, knowing that if you don't have it, how not to get it, how to protect yourself, but don't be afraid to live if something happens.
Right.
We're here for a reason, or whatever that is. That's what it is.
So we're going to do a quick wrap up. We're going to give everybody an opportunity to say something. So Pam, that was your wrap
Yes, my
up.
wrap up.
And Miss Reva has over here, she's written down something. So
Well,
Miss Reva.
Someone asked me, a friend of mine asked me a few days ago, did I know what my purpose was? You remember at one time there was this book, Purpose Driven Life, and a lot of people wrote other books in that that same train of thought. So I responded what I thought my purpose was in life, and then I returned and asked the question of the individual who'd asked of me. But there was no answer. They didn't know what their purpose was in life. So I hear from you and you and you and you what your purpose is. Why am I still here? Why did I listen to what they told me to do and do it? Why do I take my meds every day? You live your life. You help your parents. You live your life. You help.
I be helping y'all.
I love it. That's your bestie. Don't call call your best out like that.
You're living your life. You're proud of where you have come to this day in your life, to this point in your trip around the sun, as have you. I hear pride in all of you. I am happy with me and where I am and where I'm going. And I think if we leave anything for the people that we are somewhat talking to, if we're not just kind of talking within our own selves and saying things that we haven't said before, is that your purpose, finding that purpose. Why am I still here? What I think about that every day. Why am I still here? Knowing that there are many people that I came with but are no longer here. So what is my purpose? Why am I not just participating in this, but why am I doing what I do every day? Has to be part of this conversation thing,
Right.
you know, is bringing that out, saying, I'm beautiful and I know it, you know. And you all are. I mean, everybody in this room is like, so okay, that's what I have to say on that. Because we're wrapping up. I'm sorry.
All right. What you have, Miss Marchionette?
I'm 36. I'm still learning my purpose. Each day, I go to AOC. I'm happy. I know that I should be there. When I'm actually helping a client, like I'm so excited. And so that gives me my confirmation that I should be here. I'm here to help. I'm here to love. I'm here to educate. I'm happy, and I want someone else to be happy as well.
Miles, what you got?
Only thing I could really think about, honestly, like with pride being brought up, with education being brought up, is just how important it is to like exist outside of everything we know, like, and not on just like, oh, question everything, but like really, like, what are we attaching shame, fear, and all these other things to that we can release and just exist outside of that? Because it's like understanding that you're a being that exists here, who's not here to like make anyone else money, who's not here just like to get a paycheck, changes how you like, I think, conceptualize how you're moving through the world. Where it's like, well, yeah, if nothing is constant, then like I have the ability to change at my will because I have agency. But then teaching people what that means for themselves. And it's like, yeah, you can decide for yourself who you define yourself for yourself. You know what I mean? And like that can be done at any point in life. And then how that like just impacts everything else. It's like, it's just starting from this like seed of like, none of this is real anyway. So like, let's start there. And then where are we going? So.
But that's a hard thing for people to do.
It's very
That is a hard thing. Change is very hard.
Oh,
Because we as people, we get into routines and we want things to be just this way. And, so then you have a person who comes in and you change the routine up. And so then that creates that whole, what does that look like? Yeah.
Change is good.
Sometimes. We did have 4 years of change that was not that great.
Yeah.
So anyway, Miss Marchionette, what you got?
Just one thing, all in a nutshell. Let's stop existing with this HIV/AIDS whole thing, and let's start living.
yeah, yeah,
Let's start living and telling about it.
yeah.
So, one of my favorite movies is Shawshank Redemption. And in Shawshank Redemption, they say, get busy living or get busy dying. One or the other. You choose. But you choose which one it is that you want today, that you want to do. And so I guess that's how we're going to eat.
Yeah.
We've decided that we're going to get busy living.
Yes.
And we're going to tell this story, and we're not just going to tell this story and it stays here, because I'm going to bring y'all back again, and we're going to add a couple of more people to keep talking. And to you, Sharon, from the very bottom of my heart, thank you, because I know this was not easy for you. to step out of your comfort zone and to have this conversation. Miles, to you and Miss Reba, thank you, because I know it took a lot for you all to be here, to just start to have a conversation that normally you just have with your family, or it stays, right where it is. Pam, thank you for, taking my very last minute phone call this morning. I appreciate it. I appreciate it so much. And Marshanae, when I asked Marshanae right off the bat, she said, I'm an Uber to your house, and I'm going to be there. But I know that this is a real conversation. Mm-hmm. This is real. And it's real in my family. My sister-in-law, she passed from AIDS a few years ago. And that's really how I came to know who AOC was. And then, doing things with the organization and now leading the organization. And my Facebook memories today was Hip Hop for HIV that we did in 2012. And it was my very first, when I served on city council, it was my first community event that I did with my son, Rylan. And it popped up in my memories today. And I thought, wow, when your life comes full circle, when your life comes full circle. And so we all, as we're signing off, we're going to get busy living, and we're going to see each other again soon. And thank everybody for being a participant. Thank y'all.
You're welcome. Thank you.